name is Miranda, and today I'm here to discuss episode 6 of A Court of Fate and Flowers from Dimension 20. It's kind of sad that we're in the back half of the episodes now because I feel like really it did fly by so quickly. But the good thing about being in the back half is that the secrets are starting to come out. So we obviously got the whole Binx reveal in the last episode, and now going off of that, it's just more and more characters kind of finding out that she's Binx. So Rue and Hera both learned it last episode, and now Hob also knows. And I really like this whole team up we've got going on because I talked about before how one of the sadder things, I don't think it necessarily makes the season bad, but it's just the way that it is with the Regency is that they don't interact a lot, the players, as like a total party. But in this episode, we now have kind of an alliance of Rue and Hera, Hob, and Binx, who are trying to team up to take down at least Prince Apollo, potentially the whole Court of Wonder after they have all been wronged by the court in their own kind of way. And I really liked, and I'm curious, I would love to know, like, both Oscar and Abria's thoughts on this, but I'm just curious if Rue, like, obviously Abria was involved in all the character making, right? So she knew that, like, there was this whole thing with Binx and the Court of Wonder stealing the Court of Crafts magic, and then there was also this thing with the Court of Wonder being on Hob and the Goblin's bad side because of calling off the engagement to Princess Goblin Bala is what I always want to call her, but yeah, calling off that. So she obviously knew that, like, the Court of Wonder was kind of this known common enemy that a lot of the players had, and like I said, I don't think Hera has much stake in it, but he is now really good friends with Hob, and I just wonder if, like, did she give any sort of heads up to Oscar about that informing the creation of Rue? Because I feel like it's so interesting to me to have this, like, court that has been so, like, we don't like them, and they're talked about as, like, stealing magic and being like, no one really likes them. Like, even the cousins kind of find the Court of Wonder, like, they just don't, like, mess with them and stuff like that. So it's so curious to me of, like, was that designed, and did she give Oscar a heads up about, like, hey, no one's gonna like your court? Because I feel like it works out perfectly that Rue is in this court that no one likes, but has always felt like they've never belonged in this court and have never been accepted and were even stolen from the mortal realm and brought over here. So, like, I just wonder, because that works out so perfectly, right? That it was like, if it happened just organically on its own, like, that's amazing to me because it works so great. Like, even how Hob was talking about, like, hey, I don't mean to, like, talk about every single person of the Court of Wonder when I'm saying this, but I find them to be arrogant and selfish and rude and saying all this stuff, and how Rue was like, yeah, like, I feel conflicted about this because, like, they're my home, but I don't feel like I've ever belonged there. I don't feel like I've ever belonged anywhere, and I feel like that just works out so perfectly for this, right? And also just the story of Rue's character in general, how we've always been told that, like, they never really are at the Court of Wonder. They're kind of always just out doing their own thing, and Rue's even admitted themselves of, like, that's kind of a way of not having to be there. And especially with the reveal we've got of their true self, I think it would make sense if that true self wasn't accepted in the Court of Wonder, who's very fancy and, you know, wondrous, that obviously Rue's glamour was, I think, what we all picture of the Court of Wonder, of just this magnificent, almost like otherworldly thing to look at. Like, your fabrics are like shimmering, and I feel like we've talked about how that was a cover, right? Because they were scared that no one was going to accept them. But I feel like that starts from somewhere, right? And if this is the court that they were always in and the court that they grew up in, I don't think it's that big of a leap to assume that someone or people in that court had suggested or even gone so far as to bully Rue into making it seem like they could not present their true self. And I just think that's so interesting to me. I love having this common enemy, though, right? I feel like it's, like, so Regency-esque to be like, hey, like, I've been secretly working against this person, and she's been secretly working against this person, and now let's connect and know the info that we know. Because technically we know that Binx is Binx, but Gwen is still there and can still, like, assert herself into the Court of Wonder and get the information that they need to then report back to everyone else, and I think that's just gonna be... Gwendolyn is fine. Like, I really thought that Binx and Gwendolyn, like, when Binx did not want to talk about where Gwendolyn was, I was worried that they had done something to her or made some deal, but Gwendolyn wrote them this lovely letter being like, hey, I'm fine. There's something going on with portals that they have this plan together, which is going to be really interesting because knowing what we know about the Court of Wonder and especially who Gwendolyn, the real Gwendolyn, who Gwendolyn's sister is in the Blue Fairy, I feel like why is Gwendolyn helping take down Gwendolyn's court? But there's definitely something there, and now we know that this time frame has been moved up. So they've got something going on where I'm assuming they're going to try and get the magic back from the Court of Wonder and strip them of their magic. Binx also had some really interesting things to say in this episode of like, she was talking about how fairies don't die, they just get turned into other things and move into the material mortal realm. So I feel like potentially could they get their court back, you know, like we don't know that much about their family. We don't know how they are the last surviving one and what they've been doing to get to this place that they are at. So I'm really, really interested to learn more about that. But yeah, I just think the team up of all four of them is so, so cool. And I also love how it was basically like a mini double date, but no one wanted to call it a mini double date, but I'll call it a mini double date because it was Rue and Hob both acting like they did not have feelings for each other. And then it was Inhara and Binx, who both had other things on their mind, but like Binx made a moment to be like, hey, I'm happy you're here, and Inhara was like, thanks. I'm also super curious how it's gonna play out, and they were talking about this a little bit in Adventuring Party of how like Inhara knows Hob and Rue and Binx basically, but Hob and Rue's secret about how they both are in love with each other and what Inhara can do with that. So my heart of hearts, which I just think would be hysterical, is it's already been established that Inhara doesn't really get romantic, really, like, he doesn't full on understand it, and I think this whole thing with Hob and Rue is so nuanced, and there's so many layers that we know because we get to see it all, but, like, I would just love if Inhara doesn't realize that, like, they don't know they like each other, and, like, thinks they have some sort of secret romance going on, and, like, goes up to Hob, who is now their new best friend, and is like, hey, I know. And Hob's like, excuse me? And he's like, I know that you are in love with each other. And he's like, what? Like, I just think that's gonna be so funny. But I also love that, like, Rue, of all people, is the person that can get Hob to lose focus, this, like, very stoic and trained soldier who has their mission and always follows it to a T and doles it out. I love that even as he's trying to deny those feelings, like that focus and that kind of, that's like how you feel, right, around your crush, like you lose focus. The surface thoughts that you don't want to come to the surface do, so I just think that's really cute. And then obviously, Rue's reveal. I mean, first of all, the reveal that the K in KP Hob stands for Nicholas is hysterical to me. Like, I just love how he said that of, like, everyone sharing information, and he's like, the K in KP Hob stands for Nicholas, and then Rue immediately, like, all, like, purpose and, like, intent of hiding everything shatters, and they just think, I love him. Like, I was like, stop. And the fact that Inhara knows, like I said, the more people we get, like, involved in this, because, like, Binx already knows too, and I just love the whole scene of Binx and Rue talking, and Rue was like, you know, I'm gonna support you, I'm gonna let you talk because this is your thing, but I am going to look sickening. Like, I'm going to wear my most stunning outfit. And it was also nice to see Binx kind of echo what Lovey said about how, you know, like, if this is the last bloom, like, do you really want to live with regrets and think about, you know, like, I never even tried to tell him how I feel and stuff like that. So, like, I just love that, like, they're pushing them forward, right? Because it's like, that's the truth. Like, it's scary to put yourself out there. It's scary if Hob rejects you, but you never know. You're just gonna live in this, like, what if Schrodinger's cat kind of thing until you actually go out and do it. So I was very, very happy that Binx pushed them to do that, and yeah, we'll see what happens in the next episode in regards to that. I also have to talk about my two cousins that are not involved in this plot thus far, and it's kind of funny that, like, the four are, like, forming this, like, rebel alliance, and then there's just the Lord of the Wings, like, hiding from their grandpa, like, revealing all these secrets to each other. So we now know officially that Squawk is engaged, but he doesn't intend to honor that engagement, which Squawk is not a great person, and I feel like I've officially established that, but, like, I also just think he doesn't want to be in a monogamous relationship, which is fine. Like, you can, you know, if you want to date and everyone's cool with that, like, that's fine. I feel bad that he's put into this relationship of, like, oh, I have to have a marriage by his grandfather, when, like, he truly just wants to fuck around and see, like, you know, the fun of that, and, like, that's fine. So then Chirp, on the other hand, we find out, we knew she had something going on, but we find out officially she's married to someone in the mortal realm, and she has a kid who she gave the gift of flight, so now she can't fly. It truly was, Lou acted it perfectly of, like, every single addition to a thing she said, he was just like, what? what? Like, it was just so good because it was like, she's married and you're like, oh my gosh, and then she's like, and I have a kid, and you're like, excuse me, and then she's like, and I can't fly, and you're like, you're a bird and you can't fly. Like, all of it was just so amazing, and I love Emily, like, she talked about it of like being like, it had to come out, and I was like, might as well just be now. Like, I just love how casual she was about it all, and it just makes perfect sense for Chirp's characterization thus far, right? Because she's always been such in the back, and we really haven't seen her pursue any romantic kind of relationships outside of Inhara, who Inhara was such a sweetheart. Like, I loved the letter she wrote to them being like, you know, like, the farther you are away from me, the more my love grows for you, so please stay the F away from me. And him being like, I gotta fix this. Like, thinking she's like in love with him and going and being like, I see you as like an aunt, a babysitter, like, I'll be your beard if you want. Like, I love him. I love him, and their whole relationship I love more now. Just the fact that, like, he cast Zone of Truth, and then what made her dispel it was him being like, can I call you auntie and uncle? And she was like, nope, sorry. And it was so good. But yeah, it just adds so many layers to it now of, like, obviously she's married, I would assume, to like a human or something like that, because she did mention that they're gonna die eventually, and her grandfather ain't gonna approve of that. And we also learned that their grandfather is coming to the final, I don't know if that's gonna be like episode 9 or 10 what the climax will be, but he's coming, so they're in trouble. They really gotta get this going and get it in gear, and I just don't see how they could fix this other than maybe killing Grandpa. I feel like, is that too far a suggestion? I don't know. But I just really love this episode. I love the reveals. I love getting to see more of the cast team up. And yeah, now that they kind of have this, not big bad, but I think it does make sense for a Regency of like, there's someone who's been getting away with a lot of stuff for a while. And now the people that they've wronged are teaming up to try and take them down, I think makes a lot of sense and does work very well for this. So I'm excited to see how that is going to go now. And Brennan's talked before about how like Hobb is like, Binx is going to be his favorite person now because he found someone that hates the Court of Wonder as much as he did. So I'll be excited to see that relationship develop and that friendship. And yeah, I'm just excited to see what the last, I mean, it's crazy to say, but the last 4 episodes have in store for us. So yeah, if you have seen this episode, please feel free to leave your thoughts and your theories and your reactions to everything that happened down below in the comments. Also, make sure this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!